Okay, so today we have exercise number 3, Introduction to Two-Point Perspective. Okay, so until now we've been dealing with one-point perspective, with one vanishing point. So when we have, for example, a 3D object, when you have a one-point perspective, always your drawings start with a face. So the first thing you draw is the face, then all these lines converge to one vanishing point, whatever the object shape is. You start with the face. Now, again, when you have a 3D object, but you want to draw in two-point perspective. Now, first of all, why do we have one-point perspective, two-point perspective, all these different perspective methods? Well, because using one-point perspective, you can draw certain objects, like, as I said, when you start with a face. So this method, one-point perspective, is suitable for certain type of drawings. Like if I want to draw this classroom, and I'm standing here, this is the face, and I want to draw all these tables, all these details of the interior, one-point perspective is excellent. But if I want to draw this classroom, again, but from here, this is an edge, okay? So if I want to draw it like this, I cannot draw it in one-point perspective. So look at this cube. If we want to start with a face, we draw in one point. But if I want to draw it starting with an edge, now we cannot draw it in one-point perspective. We need another method. So we have two-point perspective, because when you start with an edge, you have these lines that should go to a vanishing point, and this line, and then you have this line and this line that should go to another vanishing point. Otherwise, we cannot draw it with an edge. So now this edge can be, in different locations. It can be in different locations in the space that I'm drawing. But still, we start with an edge. So we need 2 points. Okay. So let us try starting with cubes to see how it works. So we have our horizon line. What was the horizon line again? The eye level line. So here is my horizon. If I want to draw whatever I'm drawing from my horizon line, okay? So the eye level line is the horizon line. The vanishing points are on the horizon line, okay? Whether 1 point or 2 point. So we have vanishing point 1, vanishing point 2, and we will draw some simple cubes. Now, when you have 1 point, one vanishing point, you have all the space basically endless around you where you can put objects. But when you have 2 points, you are limited in this space. So here is 1 point, for example, and here is the other. So I'm limited only if I put a straight line down from here and a straight line down from here, and of course this go up as well. Let's go straight down. So I'm limited basically in this space here. Now it can go up, or down, but I'm limited in this area. For example, I cannot draw a cube here now and use the 2 points. It's outside of the limitation, okay? It's outside of the limit. So I have this space here, place to draw whatever I'm drawing. Okay. So in 2-point perspective, we start with an edge. So we need to draw edges. For example, this is an edge. Now, what size, it doesn't matter at this level. This one here, another, okay? Then we will put some here above also. Okay? Edges. Now, these edges we will connect to the vanishing point. So each of these points we will connect. Let's start with this one. We will just draw cubes now, okay? Very simple cubes, like this one. Now, we connected each of these points to the vanishing points. So what will happen now? We need to decide where this side will be and where this side will be. Okay? Now, because we are just doing it visually, it needs to look like a cube in the end. not like another kind of shape. Okay. Be careful where the edge is located. It gives you a guideline. For example, this edge is located. Well, it's almost in the middle. It's located a little bit closer to this point. So, if the edge is located closer to a point, for example, the more closer it gets to this point, the shorter this side will be, and the longer this will appear. If this line go here like this, closer to this point, this side here will be short, and this side will be long. The more it gets closer to the point, the shorter the side gets. This is here almost in the middle, so this side will be a little bit shorter than this side. So if I put this line here, and this line I will make it a little bit far away. So it's like a small difference, okay? And then, once I decide, okay, where my two lines will be, we connect them again. What do we connect? This point to that vanishing point, and this point to this vanishing point. So it always goes opposite direction, okay? So let's connect and see. Okay, so here is our cube. We darken the object lines, the visible object lines. And we look at it. Does it look like a cube? Is it too long, too broad? Okay, whatever it's the problem, we fix it. If it looks like a cube, we continue. With what? With the hidden lines. Okay? So, imagine if it's see-through, we have hidden lines. Last time we said, the first class, that it should be dotted, okay, like with small lines like this, so that we can differentiate it from the object lines. So, how to draw the hidden lines? From this point to the vanishing point, to this corner. From this corner to the other vanishing point. Continue this way. Then, from this corner down. Now, they should meet. Basically, if you've done it correct, this line that go to this vanishing point, this line that go to this vanishing point, and the straight line that go down from here, they should meet at one point inside the cube. So, this is the hidden lines. Let us check this now. Draw another cube. Again, from this point and this point to each of the vanishing points. And to this one. Going all the way. It must meet exactly at the point, okay? So you need to do this with a ruler to make sure it meets. Now I have to decide where this line and this line should be. This edge is close to this point, okay? And far away from this point. So this side here will be longer and this side will be shorter, okay? So, but still, because I'm not using measurements, I need to make sure that in the end it looks like a cube. So you apply this general rule, but still you need to look at it in the end, does it look like a cube? Because it's very easy to make it too short or, to make these kind of visual mistakes. Okay, once we've chosen, then we take from this point to the vanishing point again, all the way, and from this point to this vanishing point. And then we darken the lines. We darken the object lines. Okay. And we look at our object. Does it look like a cube or not? Okay, if it's fine visually as a cube, we continue with the hidden lines. So from this edge, from this corner to the vanishing point, and from this corner to the vanishing point, they will meet here, okay? They will cross. Then, from this here, corner down, straight down, parallel to the other lines, And if overall the object is correct, all of these three lines inside will meet in one point, okay? And this is basically the object. Okay, now, we said before that when we have a horizon line, what we draw below is like, okay, if this is my horizon line, what I draw here in this space is below my horizon vision, so we can see more of this surface. Look, the upper surfaces are visible. Now, if I put this object closer to my horizon line and go even beyond up, I will start seeing the bottom surface, and we will not see the upper surface, okay? So let's see how this will work with a cube. So again, we have an edge here. We take this to the vanishing point, and this point to the vanishing point. Okay. Again, we determine where is its location in terms of the vanishing point, which is closer to this edge. Well, it's closer to this point. It's closer to this point. That means this here side will be shorter than this side. Okay? So let us apply this rule here. And this we will make a little longer. Now, again, we take from each of the points, this point to that vanishing point, this point to this vanishing point. And we darken the object lines. So, if you look at it, if you think, oh, okay, I applied the rules, but this side is a little bit too long, we need to shorten it a little bit to make it a cube, delete it and do it again, okay? Now, the hidden lines. The inside, the hidden lines, okay? Again, from this corner, we will see the upper surface. So here we will not see anything, okay? Hidden. From here to that vanishing point, going all the way, and from here to this vanishing point, they will cross, and from this point, we will put a line up, and they should meet. So this line with this line with this line, inside. Overall. So, in all of this space, you can put objects and draw them in two-point perspective. The main thing is that you always start with what? Edge. Okay? Now, if you don't have the size, you just draw an edge. You determine the size. If you have a measurement in the future, you will put it on it. Okay? Now, these are cubes. Okay? Cubes. This will be, I think, the first paper of your homework, to draw cubes in two-point perspective. Okay? Now we will draw cuboids. So, rectangular, three-dimensional objects. We will delete these. So, what was a cuboid? Like a cube, but more longer. How long depends on what you are drawing or trying to draw. So let us draw a cuboid. We will start with an edge again, okay? And I will take it to the vanishing point. Depends on what am I drawing, what kind of cuboid. The important thing is, when I look at these drawings with the cuboids, not to look like cubes. That's very important. I don't want to see cubes here. That's on another sheet, okay? So here we will draw other longer objects. For example, now, I still need to take into consideration where is my object located in terms of the vanishing points. So what am I trying to draw? Always this side will be shorter than this if it's closer to this point, and the opposite if it's closer to that point. So from each of the edges, from each of the corners, I'm taking lines to the vanishing points. And after that, I'm darkening the object lines. So the lines that I select for sure must be darkened to be clear. Okay. If I'm happy with this cuboid shape, then I continue by drawing the hidden lines. The same what we did with the cubes. So from this corner, which is going to be on the back, we take to the vanishing point, going all the way. Then from this one to this vanishing point, again it's opposite, okay, always. From here to this vanishing point. And from this straight down, basically they should meet in one point. So if the drawing is correct, they should meet in one point, the inside lines. Okay? But if you didn't take them correctly to the vanishing points, the whole object will not really fit together. Okay? So there will be problems. Let's draw another cuboid. Now I want to draw something different. Okay. Very, very simple objects. I will start with this edge. I will take this point and this point to each of the vanishing points. Okay. And now I will make it, how shall we make it? Okay. I will put here a line. So it's totally free what you're doing right now. Okay? Just to look like a cuboid and not a cube. Okay? Now, from this point and this point I will take to this vanishing point, and this point to the other vanishing point. Okay? All the way. Then, once I have selected my lines, I just darken the object lines. Kind of looks a little bit tall, like a building, okay? Okay, now the hidden lines we need to draw, the inside lines. So from this here point to the vanishing point, and from this point to the other vanishing point, all the way, okay? And from this down, straight, okay? Until they meet. So this line with this line with this line should meet. Because this object is, whether you're drawing a cube or a cuboid, it deals only with vertical and horizontal lines. Now, if we have a different shape, like a triangle, for example, it's totally different. But we are dealing vertical lines, horizontal lines. So, on the paper, this means that the vertical lines should always be parallel to each other. And now these lines will be different because they're going to the vanishing points. But these lines always straight. Okay? You cannot draw it, for example, like this. This line. You cannot draw it like this because it will look like a totally different shape. Let us draw it like this and see what happens. So it will become like this face is like a triangle. You know that something comes down like this. So please, be careful how you draw. They must be straight if you're drawing cubes or cuboids. Okay. And I will remind you that you need to use your T-square. So it's very important when you have a paper, okay? When you have a paper, to put it on the table exactly, correctly, either exactly on the edge, or if you put it inside, the measurement to be exact, so not to be tilted. I explained this already, but some of you not taking it seriously. If you don't take this seriously, it will cause problems. Once you have the paper exactly perpendicular to the table, you need to put tape so it doesn't move around. And after that, you will use your T-square. Okay? The T-square must have an edge. So a table with a straight edge where you put it, and you move it up or you move it down. Up and down. Okay? So all these lines that I'm drawing on my paper, up and down, they will be straight, for example. And if I want to make sure that all the lines, so I have straight line here, and then I want to draw straight lines here. So if I start with an edge here of a cube, I know it is straight. Then I move my triangle here, draw another edge. Move it up here or up. Okay? Depending on where I'm moving this, always my lines will be straight. If you draw it just by hand or just taking any ruler, and it will not be straight. One line will be like this, one line like this. It will not be perfect, and I will see it. Okay? It will be clear on the drawing. And later when we start other drawings that needs more details, more accuracy, it will be even worse. Okay? So get used to using the tools. Any drawing without tools, not acceptable. Now, we have cubes, we have cuboids, and now we will draw these two examples. We have a little bit now a combination of objects, a little bit more complicated object. This means it could be a combination of cubes, cuboids together, okay, like these objects, and I will show you other examples later. So we will draw these examples, and we will apply the splitting of surfaces technique. Now, when you start drawing the combination objects, you must apply the splitting of surfaces techniques to find other details inside. So this is very important. The cubes and cuboids without. But now, because you have a combination, you need to find the center points, you need to find a little bit more details, and on the drawing to look accurate. Even though we don't have any measurements here, we don't know, okay? It's freehand. We are estimating the proportions freely, whatever is in my mind. However, they need to be still correct, looking in perspective as a drawing, okay? So, if I want to draw, for example, this object. Now, this here, the red lines indicate the cube or cuboid in which the object is staying inside perfectly, okay? So always I start with this, the cube or the cuboid. After that, I determine where are the other details inside. So let me draw, what is this? It looks a bit like a cuboid. It's not a full cube, okay? So let me draw something similar here. So we have this object. And what am I drawing here? The first edge, which is this edge. And I will take it to the vanishing points, like we did before. Okay. I determine where this line and this line will be. Now, if I want to draw the same object, but not close to this point, but close to this point, it will look a little different. Because if I put it closer to this point, this side will look a little longer, and this side, it's in reality longer, but still will look a little shorter. So when you put up an object in mind to draw, the result will depend on where are you putting it. So if I want to draw this object above here, we will not see the upper surfaces, we will see it from below. So it will change the shape, okay? Okay, so I decide to put the two lines here. Now, from this point, again to the vanishing point, and from this point to the other vanishing point. Okay, so I'm drawing the cube or the cuboid first. Any object you draw actually should start like this. You don't draw details before you actually draw the main box in which the object will be. Otherwise, the perspective will be wrong. So I make sure that this is correct in perspective. Then I can start adding details and more details and more details, and then I can be sure it's correct. So this is here the box. Okay. Now, what do we have here? Well, here, this here edge, I decide that I will divide it into three parts, because we don't know the measurements, as I said, but this part is equal to this part, is equal to this part. And we can see that this line, okay, if you take here lines, so this area is the same like this area, the same like this area. So if I want to divide this into three, okay, so we have to take this edge, whatever the size here, maybe I want to draw it bigger or smaller, but I need to divide it into three equal parts. So let me see here. 1. So we divide it into three equal parts, okay, roughly. Now, let me take the lines to the vanishing point. This line and this line. I'm just showing you how you to draw an object that has details, okay? Of course, your objects will be very different, okay? So now I'm dividing this edge, I divided it into three parts because that's how I want it to be, okay? And this object and this object here. So we have this line that lays somewhere on this line. So we have here this line and this line. Okay. But we have another problem. Now, in reality, my object, this is equal to this, is equal to this also. But here in perspective, this will look bigger, then this will look a little bit smaller, and this will look a little bit smaller. So how can I know how to divide this space into three? I cannot measure this line and divide it into three like I did here. I cannot. I can only do it with the first edge, but this is going to the perspective point, and this going to the perspective, so we cannot know. So how did we do it before? Okay, what method did we use? Splitting of surface technique. So we have here this divided into three, these two lines going to the vanishing point, then we put one line from here to here, or from here to here, okay, the same, and this intersect here, and this intersect here. So, now I can for sure put this line down and this line coming here. Now I'm sure that my object proportionally is correct. Look how this is a little bit bigger, then this becomes a little smaller, and this becomes more smaller. And if you draw it with ruler on the paper and are carefully about these sizes, it will be perfect. Now, so I divided this into three. Why do I need it? Because I need to know this line and this line location. So we have this line here, which is this line, then this going that way. But this is going all the way here. You see here, this line, it stops. It should be in the middle. So how can I know the middle of this? I'm drawing just freehand, but how can I know the middle? Well, we can just apply the other splitting of surfaces technique, which finds the center point. So for example here, this line and this line. I'm splitting now the small surfaces. This is the center point, so of this, okay? So I can tell where this object is going to be located, this line here, which is this line, okay? Now we do the same thing here. Now, you can either do splitting here or splitting here, it's the same thing, okay? The same thing. Or split the whole object. So let me split the upper one because I did it here. So where you split here on this, it's the same thing, the result. So this is the center point. So here is the line that I need. Now, let us draw the complete object and delete the lines that we don't want. So here we have these two lines, which are these two lines, and we already know this location of this object. So it's this basically what we need. will delete the line so you can better recognize. What am I doing? Okay. So when we delete all the extra lines, you can already see this part of the object, and even these I will remove them so you can clearly see it. So this part of the object, we can see it is this part here, okay? But we found the locations of these points the way I want it, okay? Through splitting of surfaces, not to make mistakes when drawing freehand. Okay, great. Now, the object not finished. We need to take from this point to the vanishing point, from this point to the vanishing point, okay? To complete the object. So this line will go to the vanishing point, this one to the vanishing point. From here also, this will be taken to the vanishing point. From here to the vanishing point. And from this down, here it will meet behind a little bit, so we will not see it. And what will happen here, from this point down, this is here hidden, and continue here visible, it will meet in this place. From here to the vanishing point, this will go to the vanishing point, and this here, wherever it reaches, it's inside here, we don't need to know if we are not drawing the hidden lines. So without hidden lines, this is the object that we drew. We were trying to draw. Now, when you actually draw, sketch something from your mind, you start like freehand. You don't split surfaces, you don't do anything, just very quick drawing. It can be very bad looking, as long as you understand it. But when you try to draw it as a more presentable drawing, then you redraw it. Like, for example, this is my first drawing here. Then I take it, okay, I will redraw it here, split the surfaces, find center points, find other details to look better in perspective, okay, as a drawing. So the first freehand drawing can be not accurate, not good looking with proportion-wise. But here it must be good looking if you want to show it to people. Or you're doing it as a homework for a teacher, it needs to be more presentable. Now, let's do this object here, the second example. I will delete this. Later I will show you other examples here. Again, objects of this type. There can be so many shapes, okay? You will draw your own shapes later. Here we have what? It looks like a little bit like a cube, this shape. So we will start with a cube. So we start with the edge because it's 2-point perspective. And we will take this to the vanishing points. From each point, go to the vanishing point. Again, where did I place this line will make a difference in what I'm drawing, but it's the same object still, okay? And if I draw it smaller or bigger, it doesn't matter at this stage, okay? There is no measurements. But proportions need to be looking okay. Then, from here to the vanishing point, and from this point to the other vanishing point. What am I doing here? Drawing basically a cube. Okay? A cube. Then I will draw details inside. To draw the object lines a little more clear. Okay. Now, what do we have here in this object? Basically, the blue lines is the object I want, okay, in the end. Now, from here to here, I put this side. Okay, so this is here the surface, this surface. But we have here a line that crosses exactly in the middle. Now, it depends on what you are trying to draw. Maybe you need the midpoint, and then you need a quarter to find, or divide it into 3, or it depends what you're drawing. Now I want to divide it into half, okay? So how do we divide into half? Diagonal from corner to corner, and from this corner, so this is here the half. Remember, the halves, or whatever you're trying to find, center points or this kind of stuff, in perspective, they're not the same like when you're drawing, a square, like, facing you. Because the half of this is exactly in the middle. But when you take this in perspective, for example, in perspective, the half will not be in the middle. Okay? So you cannot just estimate. Now, if you just freehand quickly drawing, estimate. But for a presentable drawing, you need to know exactly where is this half. Because it might be shifted this way, it might be shifted that way. Depends on the perspective. Okay? I explained this already before. Just a reminder. So, the half of this surface in this perspective point is here. Okay, great. Then we will draw the line down, crossing this point. If it is correctly drawn, from here to here, it will be bigger than from here to here, because of the perspective. Okay? Everything that goes towards the vanishing point becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay? So, this line here, which is this line, we already made. We need to draw this line as well. So from this line to the other vanishing point, like this. What else do we have? Okay, in my object, we have here this surface to draw. This is also half of this. This is how I want to make it, okay? So how can we know that? Again, we need to find the half of this surface. So diagonal from here and from here. Where do they cross? Now, how tall is this line? How I want to make it? If I want to make it half of this line, because I'm keeping it very simple, okay? Everything in halves now. So this line in half, this line divided in half, for example. Now, from this point to the vanishing point, so it crosses here. This is what I need. What is this surface? This surface. And this is divided in half, and this is here divided in half, okay? But not dividing it visually in half, always through the correct method, through the splitting of the surface. Okay, what do we have else? So this line here crosses here in this point. From this point, we will put straight line down. But until where? Well, from this point, which is this point, we will take to the vanishing point, that point. We will take a line to the vanishing point. Okay, it crosses here, so stop here. Now, from this point to the vanishing point to find this line here. This line, okay? So this here go to the vanishing point. Continue, continue, continue. Okay, so this is the line that we want. Which line is this? This line. And now the final step, I will connect this with this point and this with this point. Look, this is here at an angle, like it's away from the cube or cuboid, have a horizontal line and vertical line. But then this object is like against, okay? So this kind of objects you draw last. So we need to know where is this point located. Where is this point located? We have. Where is this point and this point? This point and this point. After that, we connect the lines of the more difficult, shapes. So we connect this one with this, and this one with this. After we found the location of these points. So, which is the object that we actually need here? So all of this is just construction. The cube is a construction, like construction lines, okay, here in this case. So, you need to draw it on the paper, light. Now, in your case, I don't want you to delete anything, okay? Please do not delete anything. Do not delete anything. Is that clear? Here I'm deleting because these pens are very heavy and you cannot see the object that I'm drawing. But on the paper, these object lines, you don't delete. You just make them very light, like I explained in the beginning. These object lines should be heavy. The construction lines and these lines that go to the vanishing points will be on the paper but light. And everything should be on the paper. When you split surfaces, I still want to see how you do. So I want to see how you build the object. If you don't show me the construction of it, the construction lines, you delete them, for example, I will think you copied it. I will think, okay, the student take the paper and trace it from somewhere. It's a copy. And it will get a 0. So I'm stressing on the importance to keep all the lines here. So if I say, how did the student find this point? I can see, okay, here is the part of the cube that the student drew. Here is the diagonal. The student find the center point. Okay, it's clear now. You understand me? Do not delete your lines. Just some lines will be dark, some lines will be light, some lines will be just a line, some of them will be dashed if it's hidden, and so on. Okay, different line types. So this is the object here that we want. We make it darker so we can see it better. And I believe it's clear. Okay, so this is our object here. All of this is just construction lines. Okay. So these are very simple objects. But if I want to put more and more detail, and I will have a drawing here first, which is not beautifully made, just very quick freehand, and then just to imagine the object, and then I will transfer it here slowly. Okay? Splitting surfaces, finding other details. I can add, remove details. So you can build very nice designs in this way, starting with cubes and cuboids, just by using these simple methods. So, now, your homework. Now, before the homework, sorry, we didn't finish this. Normal and exaggerated perspective. This is something important that I will tell you about two-point perspective. Let me delete this drawing here. And you need to be very careful about it. Now, some students will say, okay, we have two-point perspective and we have vanishing point 1, vanishing point 2. Okay, but where on the paper should we put it? They should be on the horizon line, but where? Like, so if we have a paper and you draw the horizon line, for example, here, okay, where to put the points? Put them here or here or outside of the paper? Where? So we have a paper. So let's imagine this is our paper, okay, outside here, and we put a horizon line and we put the vanishing points inside. Okay, great. There is no rule that can tell you what is the distance between these vanishing points. However, if I put the vanishing points too close to each other, what will happen? So let me delete this and put them very close to each other, and then draw an object. So we have here, for example, VP1, and here I will put VP2. Okay. Now there is no problem because I'm limited within this area. Remember what we said? Okay. So I cannot draw an object that is here outside the limit of these two vanishing points. I cannot. Everything must be inside here or here. Okay, it can go up and down. Now there is no problem with this being close to each other if my object is very small. Like if I'm drawing a very small cube, like this, for example. Take to the vanishing point, find the two sides, then take again to the vanishing point, take to the vanishing point. Where is the problem? No problem. It's fine. But if I try now to draw a big cube, okay, a big cube, and the vanishing points are very close to each other, what will happen? Okay, let's take to the vanishing point and see. Decide the two sides. And continue the cube. From here to the vanishing point, from here to the other vanishing point. So look at my cube, how it looks. So it looks like this here, this angle, it's too much, exaggerated. And look at, basically the whole object looks a little not right. Like I did it correctly, I did it correct technique, but it looks exaggerated. That way exaggerated, like the perspective is not a normal perspective. So this happens when the 2 points are very close to each other and the object you're trying to draw is very big. So the bigger your object you're drawing, these should be more far away. Okay? So if I try to draw a bigger object on my paper, the vanishing points, I have to put them far away so the perspective is not exaggerated, not like this. Because this is very ugly like this to draw for design. You're not drawing a comic book, and I want, sometimes exaggerated perspective is drawn for specific reasons. But not for design, like if you're trying to design something and draw it this way, it's ugly, okay? It's not good. So, these points must be far away from each other. Sometimes this means that if you have a paper, like this is for example the A3 paper, and you have your border inside, 2 by 2 centimeter. Now, and you draw the horizon line, okay? Sometimes the vanishing points are outside, VP1, VP2. It's okay. So it can be outside the paper, okay? So you have the paper on the table, and one point is here, one point is there, okay? It's fine. And you draw your object inside here. Take to the vanishing points, take to the vanishing points, and you draw, okay, whatever the object is. So these 2 points, I don't need to see them all the time. I don't need. So you don't need to put them inside the paper just for me to see. It's not important. Now these lines, you see, these lines that go to the vanishing point, these lines here, the construction lines, I will see them. And following them, I will know where is your vanishing point located. So these 2 points can be outside. If the object you're drawing is big, a little bit big, and if you put these points in here, it will become like this, looking. So, no. Now, what is the distance? There is no rule. It's a relative thing, depending on what you are drawing, how big is it, then you decide, what is the distance? If you see the drawing come out exaggerated, corners, then you know there's something wrong. And you put the vanishing points more further apart. So this is exaggerated versus normal perspective. Now, since I explained this, I expect no one to do this mistake. So if you do it by accident, repeat the drawing. Sometimes I say something, don't do it, and the student do it. Exactly the opposite. So please, if you see your drawing is not correct, repeat it. The repetition makes more practice and makes you better at drawing. Okay, so this is the normal versus the exaggerated perspective. Be careful about it. Now, the homework. 8 sheets. 8 A3 Fabriano landscape with border 2 by 2 centimeter. Already last time, I see the student not applying what I said. I said 2 centimeter border, not 1 centimeter here, 1.5 here, 1.8 there, 1.5. What is this? Okay? We say 2 centimeters. It needs to be 2. Not 2 means I will remove points. You need to follow instructions correctly. Now, 8 sheets. All of them have borders. All of them landscape. Okay? Great. First 2 sheets, only cubes. How many cubes per page? The more the better. 5, 6 cubes, small, big ones, okay? But they have to be cubes. 2 papers with cubes. 2 papers with cuboids. Okay? Rectangular objects. What is their shape? What is their size? Again, it's up to you. And the number also, if you put more than 3, 4, 5, it's good. The more you put, the more practice you get, okay? Put it down from below the horizon, above the horizon, and all of them need to have the hidden lines shown. Hidden lines shown. Construction lines on the paper, everything on the paper. 4 sheets, other objects, 3 per sheet. So on each of the 4 sheets, you will have 3 objects, such as these and other objects from your mind. Now, here are some examples. There is a lot about two-point perspective, the basics, cubes, cuboids, everything here you can look. And actual objects, but let me show you this first. Okay, here we have these examples, which is exactly what we were doing. Okay, for example, do you see these objects? They all start either with cube or cuboid, and then other details were found. Look at these, for example. A lot of different objects, okay? But to draw such objects, you need to use the splitting of the surface methods to find center points, to find other points of whichever you need, okay, to look correct. So there is a lot actually. And each of these objects can actually become a design of something, really, in the future. Here is also the splitting of surfaces, again, shown how you start, okay, and how slowly it can develop into a real object, which is a house, actually. Here also, again, so you start very simply, then split surfaces, find center points, and develop your object into something more complex. Here is other examples, okay, in two-point perspective drawings. If you look at them really, they are all cubes and cuboids. That's how they start. Look at this. It looks like a cube. But where are the locations of the windows? You need to have the center points found. You need to find the locations to look visually correct in perspective, even though we don't know the measurements. So any of these objects starts either cube, cuboid, or a combination of those. That's it. Here is other examples, more simple. Cubes, cuboids, here you can find, okay? Here is the drawing of a chair, but in two-point perspective. Before we had a drawing of a chair in one-point perspective, starting from the face, and now starting from an edge. Here is a house drawn below the horizon, on the horizon, above the horizon, okay? Just for you to look at. So a lot of examples just to, you know, look at and consider when you draw. But you will start with the simple and you will move slowly towards the complex. 8 sheets, the homework.